In three, one. There we go. We're live.
All right,
Okay.
all right, all right.
Uh, it's been a long time since I've done one of these things, and I wanted to go live for a very long time now because I see people doing it, and I see them talking about things that I really find interesting, and I want to put my own input into it. It's been a very big month for Star Wars, and we've gotten one of the best conclusions to one of the best TV series ever. And to me, that's very rare because I can imagine the disappointment, for example, that Game of Thrones fans had with season 8. And I'd never watched Game of Thrones ever in my life. And that's why when I found out about the whole situation and they were like, oh, they completely Johnson this shit. And I'm like, oh, is it that bad? And everyone's like, yeah, it's terrible, and I had to see some of Mahler's videos to actually understand the context of what was going on. And a few of my friends are fans of the series are like, oh, this happened and that happened and it's completely fucked up. And I'm like, ah, that's how I feel about Star Wars right now. And then the Clone Wars comes up with season 7. It's like Dave Filoni's like, if you're sad, don't worry, I'll take care of you.
Yeah,
So I'm like, shh, just shush a little bit, and I'll give you a nice little treat. Now, a lot of people are not really happy about how Ahsoka went on, and there's a lot of hate regarding Ahsoka because people are like, Ahsoka did this, Ahsoka did that, but um, it for me it makes sense because she was trained by Anakin and evidently by Obi-Wan as a character, and I
yeah.
really like that. So that was my intro. I'm General Katarn. I'm being joined by RevanX, and if you know who this person is, I've been tracking your channel and your Twitter handle for some time, and you've been doing some very impressive stuff. And I'm not talking about the fact that you got a shout out from Star Wars Theory. I'm talking about proving yourself as a fan before that, and you've gotten some traction. And for me that works. So that's why I thought that you were very interesting to talk to. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let me just hit me with your best shot. Give me what you got. Just get in there, talk, because I've been talking for the past 2.5 minutes.
All right, man. Yeah. So I'm RevanX. Man, I started basically just joining Twitter and writing stuff about Star Wars, and I started. I mean, I joined Twitter. I don't know, like a few years ago, but I just started posting Star Wars stuff. I think in November, and I think we even know each other since November. I think when I started, like
Yeah,
within,
I think
within the first
yeah,
week.
you basically had that avatar with I think it was Jedi Knight Revan with a purple and a green lightsaber, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was my. Yeah, I just changed it a week ago, I think, or 2 weeks ago. My
Into something that works,
yeah,
something
yeah,
that's more personalized.
yeah. Well, I mean, I thought to myself, I just started off, 50 followers. Nobody knows who I am, so why should I have my own picture? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after a while, I just decided, yeah. One thing about Game of Thrones, I'm actually one of the few people that did enjoy season 8.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't like the end. I hated the end, but one thing that many people complain about is like Danny's treatment. Um, that's something I personally didn't really care for because I never liked the character. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like Luke Skywalker. It was like I don't know, man. Imagine them ruining like Jabba the Hutt or something. It's just I didn't really care.
It's like, yeah, Jabba the Hutt wasn't criminal enough. He had
Yeah,
humanity
yeah,
out of context.
exactly. If they would have ruined like Jon Snow, which they did at the end because Jon Snow um, got
He
punished,
simped out.
basically, you know. So that was that would have been like Luke Skywalker in Last Jedi, definitely.
And yeah, trust me, I'm not a fan of the show in the sense that I haven't been invested in it. I haven't watched it. My sister loves that, and she actually sat down and she told me, how it was ruined. And when we actually compared notes, she was like, oh, I completely understand how you feel about the Last Jedi. I'm like, You cannot understand how I feel about that. But look, I know I'm beating a dead horse, and I know that people know, how this whole story, um, goes.
Yeah.
And I've kind of look, I haven't gotten over it because in a sense that whenever someone defends the Last Jedi today and the Rise of Skywalker and the whole sequel trilogy, look, you can love what you love. If you tell me, hey, I love it because I find it okay, I'm going to say I think it's stupid. But if you double down on what you're saying, you're like, hey, you know what, I like it, that's it, the end of story, I'm going to respect that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I really believe that people are actually saying things just to get a reaction. And I literally got this one guy that said, The Last Jedi is better than The Empire Strikes Back, because they're not dumb people. They are very smart people that
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they see the reactions. They're like, oh, if I say
Exactly.
that The Last Jedi, who everyone hates, is better than The Empire
Mhm.
Strikes Back, that everyone loves,
Yeah.
I'll get
Yeah. Yeah.
backlash. And it's sad because why would
Exactly.
you want negative backlash on your channel?
That's the thing, man. I personally, even if somebody would tell me I love The Last Jedi, I wouldn't even tell them it's stupid. I would just tell them, you know what? I mean, I disagree, but it's what you just said. They don't post "I love The Last Jedi." They post things like "The Last Jedi
It's
better than
better.
Empire Strikes Back" or "The Last
Yeah.
Jedi is better than all of the prequels together." You know what I mean? And that's what pisses me off as well, because they do it for reaction, of course, and for attention.
Well, that's what I believe too. You see, that's the difference when you state an opinion and it makes sense and people like it because it may, uh, if you state an opinion, even if it doesn't make sense and you stick by it, it's respectable. But when you actually try to make a point just to get a reaction out of people, it's actually sad. So. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what I've been dealing with lately. And a lot of people, take it, they take the context away. People tend to misunderstand you very much, and they try to take it to a place where it kind of gets dark in the comments and in the tweet, when it comes to tweeting and subtweets and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
uh, people think that we're part of an echo chamber, and I want to prove them wrong for one reason. Because, okay, I'm not part of an echo chamber, you are not part of an echo chamber for one reason. Because when someone says I dislike The Last Jedi or whatever, and they give you a reason that is convoluted or stupid, despite the fact that they agree with you, you and I are the kind of people that are going to be like, yeah, no, I don't buy that.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
other guy, he took it completely politically, and he said, for example, sequel trilogy defenders. I'm not going to mention the nation, but they're one of my neighbors, so
Mhm.
you're going to have to figure that out. But he said that the reason that people love the Last Jedi are because they're from that country and that they're scum. And I said, oh, where is this coming from? Where are the statistics to actually prove it, dude?
That's crazy, man.
And they just completely take things out of context. I want to say hello to Kahiri Williams and Lady Toriel in the comments for being there for us. I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to shout them out. So, favorite episodes of Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance. So, I don't have anything about Resistance because I've never seen the show. Clone Wars, my favorite has to be the Umbara arc because it's the epitome of adversity. I've been in a situation, even in the army, when I had to deal with a very, in a very, like, very closed environment with the wrong person. And that person can actually completely just screw the whole thing up. Okay, he didn't pong krell us, he didn't try to kill us because it would have been a bad idea because, we're crazy. Me and my comrades were very, you know, very energetic people. So you wouldn't have had, a case of treason. But we had this officer that was giving us a really hard time, and basically we were like fives and and command and Captain Rex. We have to follow orders. Yeah, I understand, but the guy's a douchebag, and I'm like, I completely relate to this arc. Actually, when the Umbara arc came, it was 1 year before went into the army. I'm like, do you really get people like that? I mean, they're supposed to be on the same side. And I realized that much later. So Clone Wars has to be the Umbara arc. And when it comes to Rebels, to me, it is when it's in the beginning of season. I think it's season 2 or 3. I don't remember, when Ezra gets his green lightsaber and he basically uses the. I think it's season 3 when he uses the
Mhm.
holocron, and basically he uses it to
Yeah,
get stronger.
season 3, I think.
Yeah, season 3. Yeah, because that's when Kanan gets blinded. Yeah. People say it's Twilight of the Apprentice because of Vader and Ahsoka, which is also an amazing arc, but I like the aftermath of it.
Yeah,
And Kanan is blinded and he kind of loses his way in a sense. And you see Kanan and you get Kanan and Ezra being in a distance, and you're like, oh my god, how does this work? They are master and apprentice, but they don't work. They don't do the same operations anymore because Kanan kind of got blind, and he got this like he basically became Space Gandhi. That's kind of blind, and uh, Ezra got a little more aggressive, and that was very interesting to watch. That was my favorite arc. So that's for me. So please tell me in turn what is your favorite like episodes or arc of Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance, if you have any of them.
um, Clone Wars would have to be Phantom Apprentice.
Yeah,
Just
pretty strong arc.
yeah, yeah. It's not just the arc itself, because I mean we had strong arcs like the arc where Fives died was also
Yeah,
really strong.
it kind of justifies his death. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
Fives didn't die in vain.
but it's just season 7, the way like the animation was just
So
crazy,
fluid.
man. It was
Yeah,
crazy, especially the last arc, which was kind of Siege of Mandalore, kind of made like a film. I had the feeling that the animation was even better than the first half of the season, and
yeah.
I don't know, man. It was like watching a movie for
Yeah, they were
real.
like, yeah, this is the last Clone Wars, so let's just, crank it up to 11.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy, man. Um, I have to say, Twilight of the Apprentice is probably my favorite episode.
Rebels?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's heartbreaking, when Ahsoka's like, I won't leave you, not this time.
yeah.
And
I
then
mean, I'm biased because
Anakin's like, you know what? Sorry to interrupt. The best thing
no good,
about that
no good.
arc, from my perspective, is when Anakin says, when he does, oh shit, I don't know where I put that saber. You guys want to hang on for that because it's really going to count. Just give me 1 sec.
All right.
Hey, so where did I put that lightsaber? I literally had Vader's saber in my hand. Oh, there it is. Okay, so you basically have this one scene where Ahsoka's like, "I won't leave you, not this time," and everyone thought it was because of Anakin's, when Anakin got dumped basically in front of the Jedi Temple, and then you
Yeah,
get Ahsoka when she's like, "I won't leave you, not this time," and when Vader says, "Then you will die," and then you see the lightsaber going off.
yeah, yeah,
Um, what people don't realize is that it's not Vader, saying that he's going to kill her. It's Vader giving her a warning. The Anakin inside of him is like, you know what? If you're going to stay here, you're going to die. There's nothing you can
exactly.
do about
Yeah,
this. I
yeah,
cannot be changed. I cannot be turned.
yeah. It's
And of
actually
course,
similar to the way he reacted to Luke, not in that same extent because it was his son, of course, but
yeah.
it's similar. You know what I
And
mean?
you will like it. Then you will meet your destiny. And then he just tosses the saber,
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my god.
it's crazy, man. Yeah, that's why. I mean, I'm biased because Ahsoka is my favorite character.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of, whenever she has like a big role, obviously I'm going to favor that episode. They also asked about Resistance. I actually watched Resistance, But I have to tell you, I have no favorite episode. I don't think it's bad, but for me, Resistance is kind of like a typical Disney Channel
Yeah, it doesn't have any
cartoon.
impact
You know,
to it.
it doesn't really have a good, in my opinion, doesn't really have a good story. It has some characters that are, some episodes that are funny, I guess, but there's no arc really that I like.
Yeah. Well, look, it says a lot about the series that it kind of got, shafted after the second season. You're like, yeah, the final season. What? It's like it just begun.
Well,
And
they say it was the plan all along. That's what they say.
you see that's the kind of thing that Disney fans say. It's like Palpatine was going to come back all along. No, he wasn't. You expected to have Snoke up until the end, man. It's like you wanted to see Snoke in the end, even Disney fans. But since Palpatine came all along, they're like, oh, yeah, we expected that. Yeah, you didn't expect that. Just don't bullshit yourselves.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the expanded universe because even
No,
when the EU brought Palpatine back, it was just as outrageous back then. People were like, really? Clones? Vats? And
exactly.
Palpatine, jumping from clone body to clone body, even for Legends, that was, like really, really far fetched.
And
And they tried to give an explanation, but it still didn't work.
even George Lucas said in an interview, actually, it was Ian McDermott. He said in an interview that he talked to George, and he asked him after the death of Palpatine, will Palpatine ever return?
Yeah.
And George Lucas was like, no, he's not going to return. And he's like, but I mean, like maybe as a clone or whatever, or as a spirit. And George Lucas backed down and said, yeah, no, like he's dead for good because the Sith were destroyed for good, and he's never going to return in any sort of form or way. And that just, I don't know, man. Just it just goes to show that J.J. Abrams never planned to have him return in The Force Awakens.
And we have Ryan Johnson to thank for that.
He had Snoke, exactly. He had Snoke. Ryan Johnson killed off Snoke, and I don't know why. Because man, I don't know if you remember when Force Awakens came out. That's the time when Star Wars Theory, his channel started exploding because every second video was a theory about who's Snoke. And everybody was like excited about Snoke, and Ryan Johnson just killed Snoke.
Everyone was excited about it. There was this other channel that was who's called Vincent Vendetta, and he had some pretty badass theories about the sequel trilogy. And one of my personal favorites was that when Rey found Anakin's lightsaber, Ben Solo essentially found Obi-Wan's lightsaber from, the personal collection of Vader because, it makes sense because, Kylo Ren has an obsession with Vader and he tracked down, possibly one of his old castles. And in the expanded universe, Vader actually took Obi-Wan's lightsaber hilt and he stored it in one of his trophy rooms on the planet of June, which you get to play in the game Jedi Academy. And Jedi Academy to me is one of the most important Star Wars stories ever because it expands on characters in a way that makes sense to me because Luke Skywalker definitely would have had an academy. He definitely would have had he would have had apprentices. And even to this day, the EU works in a way where you think to yourself, oh my God, it makes sense. Some Padawans that managed to survive Order 66 eventually became students and even Jedi Masters in Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, who are they? I want to implement them in my fan fiction,
Yeah. I mean, the EU, and I'm open about this. I'm not like the biggest fan of the EU.
Yes,
And
some things are far fetched. Some things are a little, like.
The reason I say I'm not a fan of the EU is because the EU is like almost 400 novels and comics and shit. I think only novels it's 200 something novels, and I like 10 of them. You know what I mean? So if I like 10 of them, I can't say I'm a fan of the EU because a lot of it is bullshit. Like there's this one novel called Children of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean that's just I mean there's no Disney novel that could top that, you know what I mean? But the thing is that the good ones, like the good games, the good novels, they're just light years better than the Disney sequel trilogy, anyways, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they feel more like Star Wars. Like if you play Knights of the Old Republic, for example, I mean, I get it. Some people say, okay, it doesn't really make sense that technology sometimes seems further ahead, although it's like 4,000 years
Years, yeah.
before Episode 1, but it still feels like Star Wars. It feels like something George could have actually created. And to me, the sequel trilogy, just especially The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, does not feel like George.
No, it's not something that George would have made, and when writing my own fan fiction, the most important thing to me when I write it is thinking, would George Lucas do it that way? Would he think that way? And there's a lot of outrageous shit that I've written in my fan fiction, just for the sake of me being a fan about it. But I try to
Yeah,
stay as true to George Lucas's vision as possible. But today fan fiction has gotten really out of hand, and a long time ago fan fiction was about writing what you would want to see your favorite characters do, and that
exactly.
meant progression, character story development. Like a long time ago, if you had a fan fiction about, let's say, Luke and Leia, it would be about Luke discovering the Force and Leia possibly tapping into her potential. And today, if you talk about Luke and Leia in a fan fiction, when it comes to Reylo fans, it would be about Luke and Leia discovering that lost sexuality that got sparked in The Empire Strikes Back. And that's sad. I mean, look,
Yeah,
I
I know what
I
you mean.
I like girls and I like getting intimate with women more, or basically just like the next guy. But just keep it in your pants, man. When you
That's just
actually
Raylos, though. That's just Raylos, I think.
no, that's the thing. I mean, you always get fans like these in every community, but what makes it really sad? What makes it really sad is that uh the Raylos are like kind of justified. No one actually told them, hey, what you're doing is creepy. They were promoted, they were encouraged, and
Exactly.
that's
Except
why.
John Boyega. He's the only one. That's why I love this guy.
Do you want what? I knew John Boyega. I knew I liked him because not because he got the lightsaber and he basically fought Kylo Ren in the Force Awakens and stuff, but um, he was the closest thing that we got to Kyle Katarn. A defective stormtrooper. That defects to the rebels and stuff.
Mhm.
And I believe that he deserved to be Force sensitive. I believe that he deserved what Ray got. It
Well,
would
the
have
thing is,
been.
he actually was Force sensitive.
Yeah,
Um,
but we never
but
got to hear it.
yeah,
Ray,
exactly.
quicksand.
It was never explored. Exactly. It's stupid. I don't know, man. No, but I like the actor John Boyega. I mean, he says some cool shit. Like they asked him once. They asked him, "Do you think, like, who do you think would win, Ray or Anakin?" Or even I think it was even Ray, Kylo, or Anakin. And John Boyega was like, "Yeah, I think Anakin would just take both of them
Swipe.
and just swipe the floor with them, just like left, right, left, right."
Well, yeah.
So,
It actually, John Boyega is a really hardcore Star Wars fan
yeah.
because because I remember when they made a reference to they fly now, and they're like, oh yeah, jetpacks in Star Wars, and John Boyega's like, they've had jetpacks since the Clone Wars, and he said
I
that
know.
out of his teeth. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he paid attention to some shit.
Well, the thing
And
is that many of the writers are not real fans, and that's just a fact. That's not me trying to be mean, but I saw an interview of Sam Witwer. I think it was even today or yesterday, where he talked about filming Solo, and
yeah,
because he voiced Darth
he
Maul, right?
he voiced Darth Maul. Yeah,
Exactly, and they wanted to include Darth Maul's double-bladed lightsaber from the Phantom Menace, and he didn't have that lightsaber anymore. And Sam Witwer had to argue with the writers and be like, he doesn't have that anymore.
For continuity's sake.
exactly. So they ended up having the double-bladed lightsaber of some Inquisitor.
Inquisitor, the one that he also has in Rebels, in Twilight of the Apprentice. Yeah.
Exactly, but that's the thing. That's like, why do you have to tell a writer that, first of all, and second of all, that's also something I didn't really get why he has that in uh why he had to have a double bladed. You know what I mean? Like why? I mean, I get it for the fan service maybe, but why did he absolutely have to have a double bladed lightsaber? Because Sam Witwer was actually arguing to just give him his regular lightsaber that he had in the Clone Wars, but they absolutely wanted the double bladed lightsaber, and I don't know, man. It's just, to me, it really seems like they just want to capitalize off the fans.
Well, yeah, that's funny because you get sequel trilogy fans, original trilogy purists. They're like, "Oh, the sequels are shit," but hey, you wanted to capitalize of Darth Maul in Rebels and in Solo, right? You needed Darth Maul. You you wanted you know the thing is they just wanted to again, you know, when it comes to Vader, for example, who is the most important character in this franchise, you know, Vader,
One hundred
uh,
percent, 100%.
who has been marketed in the sequel trilogy. In the Force Awakens, it's the mask. Okay, in the sorry, what was it again? In the Last Jedi, I'm sorry. When it comes to the Last Jedi, my brain shuts off because it really doesn't want to process it. It's not that I hate it. It's just the fact that I have such little respect for what went into that because there were a lot of creative people that were dictated by Ryan Johnson's creative vision, and Ryan Johnson made it his, you know, his arrogant, you know, it was a statement for him. You know, it's like, ah, I'm helming a Star Wars movie, so I'm going to completely get to do what I want. So
Yeah, he just
they
wanted to leave a mark.
they needed Vader, of course, again, and they kind of hinted in Luke Skywalker holding a necklace with Darth Vader's red crystal in his hand. So again, you get Darth Vader. Solo, you get in Solo. You don't get Vader directly, but you know that it's the years where, you know, Solo, you know, he's in his Imperial years, and you know they needed Vader so much to market the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy. Then you got the games, you know, like Jedi Fallen Order. You know, you
Yeah,
have a Darth
yeah,
Vader cameo at the end. Rogue One, Darth Vader. That's what everyone want. That's what everyone wanted to see when it came to Vader. And um, if it wasn't for him, people wouldn't have been as invested. And Vader has been dead supposedly for 30 years, and people still look for him.
yeah, yeah. Um, for me, the problem is with, like, my biggest problem with the sequel trilogy is that George Lucas never wanted a sequel trilogy, and I know
Yeah.
many sequel trilogy fans pretend he wanted to. I read this a lot, but I actually saw a video today. Giovanna posted it on Twitter, where George Lucas made it clear. Like they asked him like 5 times in a row, and he made it clear he was like not backing down. He said there will not be any story about the Skywalkers after Return of the Jedi. That's the final chapter. And he said possible, like, spin-off films, of course, but the Skywalker saga is
Yeah.
those 6 films. That's my biggest problem. And my second issue and third issue is the second issue is, you talked about fan fiction. Of course, if I would write a fan fiction, there would be some stuff in there that would be a little crazy. I know that George probably wouldn't have, written it that way, but it's my fan fiction. If I would direct a Star Wars film, I wouldn't do it that way because there's a difference. I
Yeah.
can like, differentiate, but Ryan Johnson, it was like his fan fiction, and he just didn't care. He just
He pushed through. He basically
Yeah,
forced the whole thing through, and it doesn't work. And look,
exactly.
I believe deep down that the sequel trilogy fans understand that the sequels are not so well perceived, and because they refuse to actually admit that they're wrong, because they are wrong.
Well, the thing
Okay.
is, they what they say is like, oh, it's the fandom menace, and we all created every single person created 100 accounts on Rotten Tomatoes to put down the score and shit, and that's just bullshit.
Do you think? Look,
That's-
let's challenge that. Do I look like the kind of guy that's going to sit down and make 100 fictitious accounts just to challenge a fucking Rotten Tomato
exactly,
score? I
exactly,
I I, I stream once every 6 months.
exactly. Yeah,
You
I mean,
know?
there was this guy on Entertainment Tonight Canada. I forgot his name. He kind of went viral because, man, this guy was some television host, and he trashed The Last Jedi for like 15 minutes straight on YouTube. You know, um, and if I do polls sometimes, right? You see them on Twitter,
Yeah.
and sometimes I do polls like about which trilogy do you prefer, prequels, originals, or sequels, and it gets shared like 100 times, and it has like 8,000 votes sometimes. And that's not just Fandom Menace, because a lot of my followers are not Fandom Menace. It gets shared and shared and shared. And at one point, you have 8,000 people. That's pretty representative. And if you have 8,000 people and less than 10% vote sequel trilogy, I'm sorry, but that's just the fact.
Well, look, they can like what they want, but just don't tell me it's good. Tell me you like it, but don't try to convince me that it's good.
That's the
The
thing. Yeah.
sequels they have come to pass. They're done, and unfortunately, they're going to have that. They're going to leave us with that bad taste in our mouth. And why I'm mad about the sequels is because everyone knows that they're bad, and people are using that as a weapon, just basically to get at us. To get back at us and say that Ryan Johnson is a genius. No, he's a turd. I
Yeah.
know he's a turd. You know he's a turd, but we know that he's not a genius. But you're just saying that right now to get at me, and it's pitiful because I'm not someone important.
Well,
My opinion won't matter as someone that who has more of an influence. So, who are you trying to convince?
I mean, I
You know,
wouldn't even say that he's generally bad, but he's just not good for Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like the episodes he wrote and directed
Breaking Bad.
for Breaking Bad, I believe it was. Yeah, they were amazing, man. Like,
Well, look, let's be realistic. Do you know why he did a good job? Because I believe that the creative process in Breaking Bad wasn't up to him. He didn't have a Kathleen Kennedy in Breaking Bad telling him, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to give you a trilogy. No, no, no. The people in Breaking Bad say, hey, listen, this is the story. I want you to stick to it. All you get to do is direct it.
yeah,
And this is how people work. You know, i- in any job where you go, where I work in the aquaculture company right now, I'm in a very good spot. I work in the pathology department. I basically get to call the shots when it comes to ailments when it comes to fishes. So I have the power in my hands to either cure infected fish or completely fuck everything in the culture. It's up to me. So if I was as pompous and arrogant as Ryan Johnson and say, you know what, I want half of my coworkers to love me and half of my coworkers to hate me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to completely fuck the culture over, which is not mine, which was given to me for however to direct and treat. That would have been very arrogant of me. And people don't get that this guy is an arrogant son of a bitch because you do not
oh,
call
he's
your
definitely, yeah,
you do not call them assholes. That's it. End of
definitely,
story.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm definitely on the same page with that. I mean, he's definitely arrogant, and the way he reacted to the criticism was insane. Because I mean, I'm not saying all the fans reacted properly. Of course, you're going to have some fans, but if you have 1,000 fans and like two out of those 1,000 fans will insult you, you can't call all of the fans complaining man babies and assholes. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
what he did. He like extremely generalized the fans, and nobody does that. Like not even J.J. Abrams or Kathleen Kennedy does that. He's
No,
literally
J.J.
the only.
Abrams. Do you know I respect him because he said, "Hey, if you like this movie, I really appreciate it. Thank you. If you don't, I understand."
Exactly. That's the thing, man. J.J. Abrams, he said he understands. He said that.
Because he knows that you cannot keep this fan base happy. But Okay. I think that we've given the sequels enough grace, and what I wanted to focus on more was something that I believe that even sequel trilogy fans enjoyed, and it's the Clone Wars. It's so much more to the characters of Maul and Ahsoka, and people were like, "Why was it about Maul and Ahsoka?" And they do not realize that it was the ultimate apprentice that got discarded by the light side, and the ultimate apprentice that got discarded by the dark side. So Darth Maul and Ahsoka have one thing in common: they were both outcasts. Okay, one belonged to the dark, and one belonged to the light. And although they weren't adhering to their principles because it wasn't Darth Maul, it was just Maul, and Ahsoka wasn't a Jedi, but Ahsoka was always going to do what was right and good, and Maul was always going to do what was chaotic and harmful to people. And that's how I interpreted it, and it worked perfectly,
Yeah,
weaving in the chaos of the of Order 66. And you get to realize that when something as evil and chaotic as Order 66 happens, people like Maul are so small compared to such a vision that, when Ahsoka freed Maul, to me, it seemed like the reasonable thing to do, because you need a diversion. And the best way to do it is if you let a psychopath, a genocidal psychopath, out and just basically just kills people. Because Ahsoka didn't want to do it. But if Maul killed the clones, she would know that, what? It's not on my hands.
yeah,
And that's what I loved about the chemistry between those two. And I haven't read the Ahsoka novel, and I believe it's for the best because if I had read the Ahsoka novel with all of the things that were contradicted and retconned, I would have, I don't know, I would have been mad, because if I read a novel that I like, if you retcon it, if you retcon Plagueis for me, I'd be mad.
yeah. I mean, I read the Ahsoka novel. It was actually the first Disney era novel that I read, and um, I mean, if you like the character Ahsoka, the novel is okay. I mean, it's good. It's okay. If you don't like Ahsoka, I mean, don't read the novel. It's not an amazing story, really. It's just basically what she did, in those years between the Clone Wars and joining the rebellion.
Yeah,
But the things that were retconned, I mean, they make more sense in the Clone Wars. That's
yeah,
why I'm not that upset because in the Ahsoka novel, it was like there wasn't really an explanation. It was just like Rex took out his own inhibitor chip just like that. Like there was no explanation. He
yeah.
just
That's
took it
kind of
out.
a
Like,
retcon. That's kind of a retcon in Rebels, not the Ahsoka novel.
well,
You
it's
know,
both.
yeah. Okay,
Rebels
yeah,
set it
yeah,
up.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
basically, yeah, they're based on the same thing. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right.
exactly. And then they kind of retconned both with the Clone Wars, but it makes more sense the way they did it in the Clone Wars for me. Because why would Rex, just because he's the most popular clone, why would like he out of everybody just randomly
Yeah,
decide?
it's like,
Yeah,
oh, I have to remove this inhibitor chip.
yeah, yeah. It was just it would kind of make Order 66 seem weird because Order 66 for me was so amazing.
Because it was
Um,
tragic. That's what made it so
because it was
impactful.
tragic because you had like Cody who was like Obi-Wan's friend just turn on him like in a second, just turn on him like boom.
Blast him.
It was crazy, man. And thinking that Rex would not do this to Ahsoka just doesn't fit. So that's why I like that he actually, even though his hand was shaking, he still
Yeah,
wanted to kill Ahsoka.
based on that moment, when people say that he retcons the Ahsoka novel, and what he said in Rebels, I didn't betray my Jedi. What people don't understand is if you take Cody and Rex together, and this is something that I really wanted to discuss. If you take Cody, for example, he did not resist the inhibitor chip. And it is said that Cody would have executed Order 66 even if he didn't have the chip. Basically, he would have done it. It was in his character, in his nature. So the clones did have their own personalities and
Yeah,
perceived things differently. But Rex, when he basically hesitated, even for a second, when his hands were shaking, when he held his dual pistols, and he told Ahsoka, you know what? Find fives. It was like it was like when Rex was trying to say, you know what? I'm trying to resist the best I can because I cannot do anything because of the programming of the chip. But the personality, the originality of Rex was in there. So basically, he did not retcon anything. He did not betray Ahsoka because Rex was still in there. He did not
Yeah.
shoot her.
Yeah, that's what I like. I mean, that's what makes
It
Rex
made
one of the best characters in my opinion. To me, he's
it.
probably top 10. You know.
It made it made him kind of relatable because the struggle made it more powerful. Because if Rex had removed the inhibitor chip, I kind of like it this way. It's like these little retcons that make sense. I actually want to take a moment. I want to say hello to Death by Saber and Moira Kitty. I really appreciate you guys coming on. I don't know who's still on here right now because I actually don't. I don't see who's on and who's not. So I'm
Wait,
really
are
hoping.
we on YouTube right now?
Yeah, yeah, because I actually pulled my phone out to see what's going on, and yeah, we're actually on YouTube. Uh, so this is going to be complete. This is going to be you know,
Perfect.
broadcasted, and the Clone Wars ended to me in such a satisfactory way. And when we got to see Vader in the Clone Wars at the end, it was so powerful when you actually got to see the I keep on forgetting it, and every time I forget, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to remember it. That little owl thing that followed, that basically represents the light side of the Force, that is connected to the daughter of Mortis and Ahsoka. When you actually got to see it flying over Anakin's head, because at that moment I believe that he was not just Vader, he was also Anakin, and yes, it was a moment of regret, to finding the lightsaber of someone. I believe that he also understood that she was alive in some way, shape, or form, but not, active against him. So when you see that in Rebels, and it's like the apprentice lives, um, you know, Vader realizes that not only Ahsoka is alive, but she's, you know, active against Vader, and that's why he's like, it was foretold that you would be here, they would actually meet again one moment. And it makes the Twilight of the Apprentice arc so much more impactful. It makes Revenge of the Sith so much more impactful. You know that Ahsoka's in there. Dave Filoni managed to weave Ahsoka into Revenge of the Sith, where if you watch Revenge of the Sith alone, you do not see Anakin conflicted about Ahsoka. And for me,
Yeah.
that's what works with it. But Dave Filoni has, he has this gift of making the older things, seem better. And it also makes sense when you see Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting, and people will say that Anakin, Obi-Wan didn't score an Anakin over Padme, and the relationship he had with Padme.
Yeah.
And when you see his relationship with Satine, they're like, because Obi-Wan wasn't a hypocrite. He wouldn't have said something to Anakin. He wouldn't have accused Anakin about something that he himself was guilty of. So he also loved Satine, and trust me, if he got the opportunity, he would have tapped her,
Well,
and I believe that
I
he
mean,
did.
that's what I liked. That's what I liked in the Clone Wars season 7, where you saw that Obi-Wan knew about Padme and Anakin.
I believe he did, and I believe because in the Clone Wars, not only the Clone Wars, it is said that the Jedi were allowed to have casual relations,
Yeah. Yeah.
like physical relations, basically. It's like, hey, do you want to get together and hook up after lightsaber training practice? And the girl would be like, okay, but no attachments.
Exactly.
And so I believe that Obi-Wan would understand that, hey, you want Anakin, if you want to tap Padme, go ahead, but don't form attachments. So
It was about. I mean, when Rex guarded the door. I think it was the first episode of season 7.
yeah,
Um, Obi-Wan even said, I believe he said, like, say
tell
hi.
Padme hello.
Exactly, something like that. Yeah. So, um, yeah, I like that, man. It makes sense. And one thing many people, because there are many people that hate the Clone Wars, right? Many like old school EU fans and like 2003 Clone Wars fans. And one of their main issues is like Ahsoka. Those Ahsoka haters. I mean, I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to offend anybody. A lot of them I had good discussions with, but they tend to hate Ahsoka, and the reason is that they say it doesn't fit in Revenge of the Sith because she's never mentioned and whatever.
Yeah.
But for me, man, it's perfect because as good as Revenge of the Sith is, it still seems rather quick. Like, you know how he's like, I mean, he has his dark sides, but he's still a committed Jedi. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, you know, I see your lies, the Jedi are evil, and all that stuff. And it makes more sense knowing that the Jedi kind of betrayed Ahsoka in a way.
Yeah.
That he did not just lose Padme, that he also lost
Oh,
Ahsoka.
dude, that makes so much sense. I never actually got to think about it, and it adds a lot of depth to Ahsoka because when Anakin does indeed say, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil, uh, Anakin is basically, nudging and hinting to the fact, hey, you treated Ahsoka like shit,
You know
and you
what I
treated
mean?
me like
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. And that's what I love about Dave Filoni. He manages to include this, and I mean George Lucas worked on season 5 as well, but it was mainly Filoni, and it works to me. It works perfectly, man. It just
The Revenge of the Sith is never going to be the same.
yeah. It's just
It, it's not going to be the same for me. The Revenge of the Sith became, so much better for me right now. I just, the next time I'm going to actually view it, I have a friend of mine who said that he hasn't watched Star Wars. I'm like, hello there. I just went off Palpatine. I'm like, yeah, I'll be like, he's like, I haven't watched Star Wars ever, not even the prequels, not even the original trilogy. I'm like, you will now pay for your lack of vision. I want
man.
to
I like
on.
I like your voice, man. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually worked on it a lot, even when I was a kid. I had this deep voice, and I actually paid attention to Ian McDermott's way, not only the way he talked, but I paid attention to the movement of his lips. So if I was to, I actually think I have a hood. Let me just give you a quick example.
All right.
Okay, so I'm gonna get hot, but it's worth it. Okay, so right now I put on a hood. So if you forget that I have a little, stash here, and I just drag this here, and I go like, when he says wipe them out, all of them, and I tell this to my, to my mom, I make memes. I mock my mom, and I do it in a Palpatine voice because my mom loves it when I just completely change things up. So she's like, I'm going to go to the supermarket, and there's only a few, some of these. I'm gonna call them like baby marrows. And she said, should I take everything? I'm like, wipe them out, all of them. She's
That was
like,
good, man.
you're a dork. And I said, duh, I know.
That was good. That's
And,
really good.
and when my friends were like, hey, did you hook up with the other girl? I'm like, wait. They're like, you're gonna put a hoodie to do that in the middle of summer, really? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, so how did it go? Everything has proceeded. No, wait. Sorry. Everything. Wait. Oh my God, I forgot Palpatine's most important line. Thing is proceeding exactly as I foreseen. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Basically,
Yeah,
that's
as a,
everything has proceeded exactly as I foreseen. And my friends are like, You're an absolute dork," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a dork that gets laid on Palpatine quotes. Not my fault, But Ian McDermott, dude, I love him so much, but it made me so sad that they brought him back in the
oh yeah, man.
sequel trilogy. I'm like,
Oh,
I love Ian McDermott. I do. Do you know when? Do you know when it made me happy when I saw him come back to doing a Star Wars project? When he came back and he played the Emperor in Angry Birds. He's like, I am the Emperor. Join the Empire. Join the pork side of the Force. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And the 13th hour is in the chat. Thank you for dropping in, man. I really appreciate that. Anyone who drops in, trust me, if you take time out of your timetable to actually watch me doing some silly Palpatine impressions, I really appreciate that. You know, and um, just to recap, it feels so good just streaming with a Star Wars fan that I can actually get on board with. And dude, there's so many things that I could talk about now regarding the Clone Wars season 7. I remember when the last episode came out. It was early in the morning for me, and I got into Disney Plus. I actually did. I paid for it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And then, I see the episode, and I was supposed to start working out. I was actually supposed to help one of my friends move. And I told him I'm going to be late for at least, I need you to give me 30 minutes. And he said, okay, I can give you 30 minutes. And then I was invested. And then when I saw, the last episode, I started tearing up. I started crying when I saw Ahsoka holding her lightsaber like this, and I saw her drop it. I'm like, please don't drop it. I love that lightsaber. Please give it to me, or General Grievous.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
just please don't drop it. And then when I see Anakin holding it, I'm like, that makes sense. And it makes me so happy that we have a TV show with such a good finale. Season 6, episode 13 was half-assed. Okay, yeah, they tried to shoehorn in, Qui-Gon Jinn teaching Yoda and stuff, and that worked for me.
I
It
loved
worked.
it, but it should have been more than one episode. I mean, it was more than one, but I mean, the last episode itself should have been like 2, 3 episodes.
It felt rushed. It really did.
It was rushed, man.
And they just wanted to shoehorn in Rebels. Now I'm telling you, if they actually took their time with season 6 and they expanded it to like another 7 episodes, and then they came out with season 7. Yeah, they came out with season 7 obviously, and then they came out with Rebels. It wouldn't have been as badly perceived as it was, because although Rebels did become really good after, like, in season 3 and 4, Rebels became really good because that's when Dave Filoni started hitting his stride. Rebels really started as a substitute for the Clone Wars, and they went for an obviously more Disneyfied audience. And when I watched it at first, I was like, yeah, it's happy go lucky during the Empire and stuff. And then, Dave Filoni was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do some shit, and then you get the Inquisitors. Oh my God, what the fuck is the Inquisitors? I want to find out about that, and then you see that you get Vader and Tarkin, and you
Mm,
see Tarkin being Tarkin and executing Imperials, and then I'm like, oh
yeah,
my God,
that was
supposed to
season
be-
that was season 1 though, right? The end of
yeah,
season. Yeah,
yeah. And it's like, I also like him talking, like, failure will not be tolerated. And then you just see the
yeah,
Inquisitor,
yeah.
and he's like chill. He's like, okay, did you behead them already, Inquisitor? And I'm like, Tarkin. Tarkin is he's like one of my favorite things ever, because when you get the posh, pompous, arrogant, kind of guy, I think of Tarkin.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely, man. He's like the perfect like general figure of the empire. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? He's just like perfect, man. He's like the second most evil person after the emperor.
dude, he
Character.
made Vader his bitch, man.
Yeah. I mean, now we have Thrawn. Thrawn is canonized as well, and I like canon Thrawn as well, man. In Rebels, it's
Oh
crazy.
man, Thrawn is fucking fire. And when you
Yeah.
hear that theme, that organ playing in the
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you know, um,
Woo.
when I broke up, story time. When I broke up, I was on Instagram, and I was basically giving these coded messages to some of my friends who was hanging out with my ex and her boyfriend. And I was like, my messages were like, if I get the chance, I'm going to completely end this whole charade. Okay, because you're messing with the wrong guy. I'm General Katarn. I got the title of general for one reason. It's not a toy, you know. And I found out that the guy knows, and one of my friends was like, "Why was he looking at you so aggressively?" So I did this, Grand Admiral Thrawn style. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know, and he was like, "What? Why?" And I was like, "Because, my friend, he knows that I have challenged him, and he has accepted my challenge. And of course, we will play this little game of cat and mouse. But in the end, it will be his ultimate defeat and my greatest victory." And he's like, "Why are you talking like a retard?" And I said, "Dude, Grand Admiral Thrawn, shut up. I'm trying
Yeah.
to show you that I'm like the biggest strategic mind when it comes to this shit. I can actually outplay him." It's like, choose Palpatine or Grand Admiral Thrawn or be like Vader or Tarkin. I'm like, I want everyone, and their only thing was like,
Nice.
"Hello, Obi-Wan. What's up?" Yeah, Clone Wars. And very, very terrible impressions of popular Imperials. But
Uh,
my
his
Palpatine game.
impressions are really good, man. His impressions are really good.
Uh, Look, if I had to choose and be honest with myself, I believe that my Palpatine, impression is the best
It is the best. Yeah, yeah.
because I'd been practicing it for some reason. It's like my mom was like, "You should do the chores," and I'm like, "You should not tell me to do the chores. You should learn to wash your own dishes."
Nice. Hey, yo,
Uh,
I'm gonna be back in like 30 seconds. I'm just gonna go wake my fiance. All right?
yeah, go ahead.
She's fasting and shit. That's why. Gotta wake her.
Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to do some impressions for the guys here because I'm getting some love. Thank you, guys. Oh,
All
I
right,
love you. Go
all
ahead.
right, man.
I'll be here. So yeah, impressions. I just the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. Okay. Um yeah, it's not something that my parents would tell me or school or I don't know. But I just love the whole Darth Plagueis thing. Everyone's like, the Darth Plagueis story, and everyone loves the Emperor, but they don't realize it's the musk in his voice. And I'm lucky that I have a deep voice. Sometimes you can get really out of hand. I can like squeal like a little mouse, but when it comes to doing impressions of the Emperor and stuff, if you want to do impressions, you just basically have to practice just talking about random shit, and that's what I do. I've been doing this like forever. Like whenever I was like I was tinkering with one of my lightsabers and I was doing like a Emperor Palpatine impression. I'm like, this battery is insufficient. I will have to replace it with something more powerful. And then my dad's hearing me and he's looking at me like this and he's like, "Are you possessed?" And I'm like, and I look at my dad, I do this. The dark side of the force is a pathway to many abilities, some considered to be unnatural. And he said, "Are you, I mean, you know, is there something wrong with you?" And I'm like, not from a Jedi. And he said, "It doesn't make any sense." I'm like, "Oh, just it doesn't have to make sense. I'm just trying to do a Palpatine impression."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when it came with my friends, like they were like, how's the date going? I won't forget it. It's my favorite impression. I was just laying back and it was like going, how's the girl thing going? And I'm like, everything is proceeding exactly as I had foreseen. And they're like, how would you know? And I'm like, dude, I'm the emperor. Shut up. Just if they ask me to do a Darth Vader, impression, I'll be like, yeah, no, I can't do that. I need to be James Earl Jones. It doesn't work, you know.
Yeah.
But you can do Maul. Maul seems to be easy. You just have to take Starkiller's voice and you just hit a British accent into that, and you'd be like, so it has started without me. We're all going to burn. We're all going to die. Let me die. You know, and you just go crazy. I love Sam Witwer, and one of the things that a lot of people are not really aware of, because I read the credits to every single Star Wars project, is that Sam Witwer also voiced the Emperor in the Force Unleashed games, and his Emperor game is so fucking on point.
Man,
They
it's
were looking,
crazy. Yeah,
they
yeah,
were, they were looking to actually get a voice actor to do the Emperor, and there was like, and then Sam Witwer was like, "You have
yeah.
forgotten your place, Lord Vader," and it was like, "Oh my God, Sam Witwer is also the Emperor."
Yeah, yeah. He's great, man. He's crazy. He does man, he does Obi-Wan really good. He does the Emperor really good. Obviously Maul. I mean, it's his voice.
Oh man, yeah.
Who else does he do? He does like a lot of people like on
He, he
point.
he he did the Sun as well,
I
which
even heard him. I even heard him do Anakin, which is like doesn't fit at all because Anakin's voice obviously is kind of like a really
you know
really
what?
high pitched voice compared to
Yeah,
but
it-
he still sounded like Anakin a little. It was crazy.
what
Like
really didn't work for me as Anakin was Matt Lucas, who did Anakin's voice in the Revenge of the Sith game, and of course in the Clone War series. And they tried to emulate that little wimpy, Episode 2 angsty Anakin thing, and Anakin isn't a wimp, and that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Everyone's like, "Oh, George Lucas, screwed up the prequels," and I keep on. I had a conversation the other day with one of my very close personal friends. We had a conversation today, and we were talking about Attack of the Clones, and because 19th of May was when Revenge of the Sith came out, the Phantom Menace came out, and for me personally, the 19th of May is a day of mourning because of my people. Um, it's a different kind of anniversary, but I'm like, yeah, Revenge of the Sith, and when I heard the impressions of Anakin Skywalker, and people saying, he was a he the sand line was terrible. I keep telling people, okay, you go and become a monk for 10 years without touching a girl's punani, without even touching a girl's skin. I want you to pull off a pickup line flawlessly and succeed. At
yeah,
the age of 19, I see men at the age of 30 that fail. I'm a guy at the age of almost 30, and I also fail. Yeah, I don't go to tell girls and say I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, but I say my own stupid shit sometimes. But
yeah, exactly. That's what I always tell people as well. I'm like, real life is not like a Hollywood chick flick. You know what I mean? That's like in
yeah,
real life, people fuck up so bad. Like they have worse lines than that. So I don't know. And to me, I feel like the prequels were very in a sense Shakespearean
yeah.
and also actually Greek as well. Like
Yeah,
told
they took a
theater.
lot of
Yeah,
ancient Greek, tragedies and dramas and stuff.
exactly. And if you look at it that way, it actually makes sense. Because I mean, read Shakespeare and the lines people had in his theater plays. You know what I mean? They were crazy. Didn't make
Doth
sense.
moderate know you wear a thigh drapes? No, sorry, that's Tony Stark in Avengers, mocking Thor. Sorry.
So I don't know, man. Like I personally never had an issue with the dialogue in the prequels. I get why some people. Literally, the only line I have an issue with, maybe the only line that's kind of a little weird, is in Revenge of the Sith, where
Oh, what are you gonna do?
oh no, it was the line I don't even remember it correctly. It was something like where he uh man, I watched Star Wars mostly in German. That's why it was something like it's because I love you so much.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. No,
like
no, it's because I'm so in love with you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you
the
have the
balcony.
context? Do you have the context?
The context, yeah, it's when okay, let's rewind that scene. Basically, when Anakin is looking at Padme and she's brushing her hair at the balcony,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she said, "Annie, I want us to have the baby back on Naboo." Because she trusts Naboo. Obviously, it's more peaceful.
I don't mean the scene. I mean the dialogue, because I only have the
Oh,
German.
okay. The context.
So
Okay, listen, listen.
what the entire
Let me
quote.
give you the context because I can understand. I'm a horn dog like Anakin. So if you take a guy like Anakin, who is at the age of 22, 23, when he's at his prime, and not just as a warrior, and also as a man, and you remove him from his wife, especially the woman that he loves so much, and he gets to see her after such a long time, where he says to her at the Senate building, if they didn't kidnap the chancellor, I don't think that they would have pulled us out of the Outer Rim sieges.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a blessing that he got to reach Coruscant and rescue the Chancellor because he got a chance to see Padme. And anyone that claims in relationships that they have the perfect one-liners is a complete liar. And George Lucas, everyone's like, his dialogue is tacky. Yeah, it's tacky because it's realistic. Okay, I've seen guys hit on women and my reaction is like this: I want to tear off the skin off my face and set it on fire.
Hmm.
Okay, so why is it okay when a guy says a tacky one liner to a girl and they're like, you should try it again next time? You'll get it. And when George Lucas does it, everyone's like, George Lucas failed so hard. And no, George Lucas has experienced life. Okay, I believe that he knows some of these things, and I believe that he is taking these things into context from life, and he understands how people work. And because we're not perfect, we say some
Yeah.
stupid shit. That's what makes it perfect, because we do say stupid shit. I've said one-liners worse than sand. Okay, and at least Anakin got to kiss her.
But I have the quote here. So the quote was something like, "You're so beautiful," and then Padme says, "It's only because I'm so in love," and Anakin says, "No, no, it's because I'm so in love with you." That's the only line. It's not even that it's cringy. It's just that I believe this line would not. Nobody would say that. Like if somebody tells you you're beautiful, nobody would be like, "It's because I love you so much." And then the other
You know what?
person goes, "I love you." It's just weird. Like it doesn't make sense. Nobody would. You know what I
Okay.
mean? That's my only issue.
Let me ask you, how old are you? If you want to reveal, your age, that's okay. If you don't, I can understand. I have an estimate. So if you don't want to reveal your age, I have a counter argument where it has to do with experience. So whatever you say is cool with me.
No, give me your estimate first. I'm kind of interested.
I'm gonna say at the age of 25,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly 25.
Well, I'll be 25 in 3 months. So
Okay, so yeah, I actually, oh man, I actually
pretty good.
got it.
Props.
So the thing is, my feelings have made me powerful. The thing is that at the age of 25, I said something. Now, look, you said that you have a fiance. Okay. Now, when you're fiancé with a girl, that means that you've gone through the stages where you don't have to say some tacky shit just to get into her pants or just to impress her. Now, I have gone through the phase where I've actually felt with the ex girl that I was for about a few months that I
Hmm.
really cared about. I looked at her and she was the girl that even had imperfections on her facial features and as a person. And I looked at her and I said that I told her a line that was similar to Anakin's. I said, "It is impossible how I actually look at you and how much I love you because of who you are, what I see." And she didn't have an answer for that because it came out of nowhere. George Lucas was actually taking notes in the back, you know. But when you're in love and you're young, you tend to say these things. And I said that last year when I was 27. So when people say that George Lucas wrote cringy dialogue,
Like I said,
yeah.
no. Look, I don't even say. I'm not even saying it's cringy. And look, maybe you maybe you misunderstood what I was trying to
No,
say.
no, I didn't
Because,
misunderstand what you said.
because
I
I'm,
completely got what you said, but I'm saying what other people have said
No, no,
because
look, what I mean is Anakin's line is fine. Like he says you're beautiful, and then he says no, it's because I'm so in love with you. It's
well,
what I'm
that's
talking
what makes a person beautiful. When you love someone,
exactly.
they could
That's
be
what
ugly.
that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. My issue is Padme's line. Is when he says you're beautiful, Padme says it's only because I'm so in love with you. That's
Yeah, it
and that's
makes sense.
I
It
don't know.
makes sense.
I,
When,
I,
when- listen, it makes sense. When a girl feels loved, she feels attractive.
I I don't know, man. I never heard anybody say something remotely like that. So that's the only thing.
You know why?
And I tell you,
Because these lines are Shakespearean. Okay, you don't get to hit on girls in Shakespearean lines, but you know, I've had my fair share of girls in my life, and despite every single one of them being a failure, I've taken a lesson from every one of them. And what they all have in common is when a woman feels attractive, she feels beautiful. When she feels loved, she feels as beautiful as can be. Now it depends on the kind of person that you're dealing with, because some girls are humble enough to be like, "Hey, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you have strong feelings for me." And some other girls are like, yeah, they're like, they think that they're Beyonce and shit. But that
some
has
girls
to,
are always, it's just
yeah.
fact.
So the fact that since that you also have a fiance. Speaking of which, my one of my best friends came from the city, and he came to visit me. He's going to be here for a week. He's getting married next month, and I'm going to be possibly the best man in his wedding.
It's
The
good.
reason why we're still discussing this is because his future wife has a friend, and she wants to be, the best, like she wants to be the maid of honor. And she said that she wants to just be the maid of honor without a best man. And I said, if you want to be in a wedding without a maid of honor or a best man, it's like wanting to have a dog without a flea.
Yeah,
You can't have that. And I had the balls to actually go to my friend's girlfriend, and I said, okay, how long have you known this woman? I've known her for about 3 or 4 years. I said, I've known this guy since junior high, and we have been through thick and thin. We have slept in the snow, we have slept in the cold, we have done things together. I've been there for him, he's been there for me. So it's not that I'm going to ask you. It's fact that I'm going to be the best man in his wedding, because it's also his wedding. And what you don't realize, I told her, is that even if he gets divorced tomorrow, I'm still his best man, because people think that the best man is a title. It's not just a title. It's a responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. And I've stuck with him for all my life, and I'm going to continue to do so. And me just being the best man just makes that official. You know, it's not
yeah,
just officiating his marriage; it's also officiating our friendship. And I told her, you will never take that away from us. And if you try, you will lose.
yeah. It's good, man. It's good. Well, I hope that everything is going to work out because I mean, I don't know how it's in Greece right now with the whole coronavirus situation.
We're out. We get by.
That's good. That's good because we were supposed to marry this August, but everything got postponed. So we're going to marry next August now.
So it's gonna have to be a year.
Yeah, man, it sucks because we already have everything, man. We have the wedding rings, the dress. We had the DJ and everything, man. Photographers. Uh, shit happens.
Can't imagine what it's like to get married. I wanted to so bad, and then I just realized that it's something that you earn, and I haven't earned it so far. It's just the reason why I was going through such a struggle was because the woman that I was with, she's 35, and she supposedly wanted to get married, have kids, and she said, "I actually visualize having your kids." And for me as a man, I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, okay, let's let's tie the knot, seal the deal. And when she went from saying things like that to, I don't know what I want anymore, she basically turned herself into a 13-year-old insecure girl. And I knew that she was, bullshitting me. And I said, listen, when it comes to bullshitting, I wrote the rule book of how to bullshit. If you look at the back of the book, there's a picture with me. I'm the author of bullshitting, so you cannot bullshit me. I know every trick in the book. I just want
Mhm.
you to be honest. She wasn't honest. She bullshitted me. She tried to bullshit me until the end, and she's with this guy right now who is a complete moron. And I'm not saying this because of jealousy, because the guy isn't worth it. He's a pompous, arrogant asshole who has the girl that I would have wanted to be with, and he goes and stalks younger women on social media, and he hits on them, and he's unfaithful to the girl that he is with. But at least he has gray hair, so he looks mature. Because I'm too young yet. My body hasn't deteriorated. My body hasn't started to fall apart. And that's a bad thing for her. I still look young. I still hold my looks. And I said, we'll have this conversation when you're about 45. I'm going to be 38, and I'm still going to look as a man under his 30s. You know, Eventually we lose right now, but we win in the long run. And whenever I find out that someone else, just like you, and you say that you are engaged, and you seem happy about it, it really brings warmth to my cold dead heart, trust me. And it makes me
Glad,
happy to see people progressing.
glad, man. I mean, I don't know if I would say it's kind of a reward in that sense. It's a reward as a feeling, of course. It feels rewarding, but I wouldn't go as far as to say you have to earn it, because I don't know, man. I used to, well, my ex-girlfriend, I mean, I thought of marrying her and shit, but the feeling was different. There was a difference, man. I was dating her, and I was always thinking of it, but with my fiance now, I just knew it like right away. It's weird to explain, but I knew it like right away. Like we started dating, and
To
I knew,
quote, it's a feeling.
yeah, yeah. I just knew, okay, whenever it's going to be in a few months, in a few years, but it's definitely going to be the person I'm going to ask to marry me. Like I knew it right away, and I never felt that towards any other girl. So I think it's just,
It's
uh,
luck sometimes.
yeah. Well, it's luck. Some people, um, I mean, some people don't believe in like
Oh, wait. Sorry. What's that, Chiarimundi? There's no such thing as luck. Oh, just shut up. There is no such thing as luck.
um, the thing is, I mean, some people don't believe in love and shit, like true love. Um, and I get that, but I mean, I used to not believe in it. I do now, just because I kind of experienced the difference between dating a girl and at some point thinking of marriage, and dating a girl and thinking of it right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
That's when it's
you just
it's
know, man. You just know. Like
yeah.
my step parents, for example, my real parents, they split up when I was like 1 year old or something, I think. And my mom, when I think I was four, and my mom went on vacation and was in the Dominican Republic, and she met my stepdad, who's from Germany, and they spent 3 days together on vacation, and then they started dating and had like long distance relationship over, I think it was like ICQ back then. They used to like video chat every day for I think 4 months, and she visited him in Germany after that. And it was basically the fourth day that they actually saw each other face to face, and he asked her to marry him, like the fourth day. And now they've been married for 20 years. You know what I mean? Like,
That's chemistry, man. It's like a lottery.
exactly, yeah. It's just that's why, man. Don't give the hopes up. You're gonna find the right girl.
Well, Right now, I'm going full Katarn mode, and if you know Kyle Katarn, basically what a Katarn is, we're very we fight on the side of light. Okay, I will always fight for what's right, and I will always stand for love and stuff. But it doesn't mean I'll necessarily believe it for myself. And right now, it's not something that I need. Okay, yeah, I do hook up with girls, I do move on and stuff, but it doesn't mean that I'm in love. It's just a phase that I'm going through. I suck at
Yeah, but
singing.
I mean, you just came out of a relationship, so I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't jump into another one
Yeah,
anyways.
it was 4 months ago since I broke up. But the thing is that I don't feel ready in a sense that I'm not gonna go after it again because people disappoint, man.
How
You know,
long were you guys dating?
we'd been dating for about 7 months, and she had this belief that out of nowhere someone's going to script how long you're going to be together, and she's like, we've been only dating for 7 months. I'm like, yeah, you know how 7 months becomes 7 years when you actually put some fucking effort into it. And she
Yeah,
didn't because she thought, you see, it was the entitled thing all over again. And I thought to myself, listen, if people are not going to put effort into my relationships, and it could be physical, sexual, friendships, family, I'm not going to do the same thing. And I'm making people realize that when I'm the one that actually stops investing in things, how much it stings.
yeah,
So
definitely, man. Like if you really love somebody, it's not really an argument to say we've only been dating for 6 months and whatever. I mean, it's not like it's 1 week. You know what I
that's
mean?
the excuse that you see. That's the excuse because you find people that have known each other for just about a week and they actually make it work. Just like your stepdad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, in that case, I have to be honest. I love the story, but it takes some guts. I don't think I could ask somebody to marry me after 4 days. um,
It's a risk. It's a risk you take.
yeah. But with my fiance now, I asked her to marry me. We've been dating for I think 6.5 months. So some people say that's way too early, but
Do you want? There's no such thing as too early or too fast, or too late. It's bullshit. When you know. Because
exactly.
what I'd like to see is you proving guys that have been going out for years and years, and them not making a step forward to marriage, or actually wrapping up this whole thing, and they're just like boyfriend and girlfriend for years, and you see guys at the age of in their 30s, and they're like, ah, my girlfriend, and you're like, why haven't you met her yet? Ah, because we haven't had this conversation. And then
Mm,
people that have known someone for about 6 months, and then you get married with that person, and then you think to yourself, listen, this is a jackpot, and you make it work, and it does work in the end. You're like, you know what, suck it, because I trusted my feelings and it worked. Right
yeah,
now, I trust my feelings. This is the reason why I'm not getting into this. My feelings are on point. I used to ignore the way I felt about people, and right now I tend to focus more on the negative side of people and what they say and what they do, especially women. I have a bullshit radar, okay, and I can understand when I'm being bullshitted. And this is the thing that I tell all the girls that I meet, and this is why it doesn't last, because I say, listen, if you actually sit down and you think to yourself, I'm going to actually spend the energy to try and bullshit this man, not only is it going to be a complete waste of time for you and me, I'm going to find out, and it's going to be the biggest mistake that you could ever make. Now, I'm not the best lover, I'm not the best looking, I'm not the smartest, but I have empathy. I can tell what's going on. So I said, do not underestimate my intelligence. And intelligence has nothing to do necessarily with being smart. you know I
yeah,
pick up things. So that's the thing. But look, I hope that you guys are happy, and when I find out that people are happy in a relationship, it makes me feel better, because at least I know someone's doing something right, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and we're definitely happy. I mean, the thing is with us, it's what makes it special in a way is we went through a lot, and if you go through a lot with the person, it kind of
Yeah,
seals it, you know.
yeah, it
Um,
brings you
she's
close.
she's from originally, or her family is originally from Pakistan, and you know, I'm just like a white Canadian Christian. She's a Pakistani Muslim, so you can imagine her family was extremely upset. um,
Oh,
yeah,
it
there was
doesn't have to be
literally
about religion. The girl that I was with for 3 years, her parents were upset because they knew my dad and they didn't like my dad and my mom, and they weren't
yeah, but
happy about it. And we
with
were all white Christians, so it
with
has
those
nothing.
different with those different cultures and religions, it's another level, man. It's especially like in Pakistan, it's one of the most like one of the more stricter countries, kind of like Saudi Arabia in a sense. And there was literally no acceptance. Like there was like no way. Like you can't do anything to convince us. Like literally anything. And she ended up like they ended up locking her up. Like she wasn't allowed to leave. She wasn't even allowed to go to work. Um, and she ended up running away from home and cutting contact to her family for like a month maybe or something. And she moved to my place. I was still living with my parents back then. Like I had like an apartment above their apartment basically.
Yeah,
Um, and this seals it, man. I don't know, but just to see that this person was willing to go through to potentially sacrifice her family. And I would never ask this from her. I always told her, like, I don't want you to do this, but she wanted to, you know what I mean? And like now it's better. Her family, they have contact. They still don't really accept me, but it's not as bad as it used to be. But just the feeling that, this girl wanted to go through everything. It's I don't know, man. Is in my opinion, there's nothing that can seal a relationship more than a commitment like that. So
yeah, that's true.
this
That's true. You're not wrong, but
man, we've been talking about relationships for half an hour.
yeah,
Crazy.
you can find stuff. You can learn stuff from us. Trust me. But yeah, well, we had some pretty interesting things to talk about. But I think that we should kind of, you know, end it here. And next time, possibly, we're going to be having a guest on. I really appreciate the fact that people actually took the time to actually see uh, our live stream, sit down, hang out with us. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. It's not something that I consider as a given. So we're gonna do this again, possibly within the week or next week. I don't know. We should do this again because there's a lot of cool things that we will have to discuss back in. When the time comes again. And this is basically it. Is there anything that you want to say? As a closing statement, a plug?
And as a closing statement, maybe for any person that's listening, I heard a rumor about this person that made a like a fan film kind of combination of Revenge of the Sith, The Siege of Mandalore, with flashbacks to season 5 of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
He made one huge like 4 hour or like 5 hour movie out of it. If anybody can find that shit for me, man, I'll be so thankful.
No, it's the first I hear of this.
I saw
Cool.
it on Twitter, and it seemed legit. Like a lot of people were retweeting it, and a lot of people apparently saw it. And it's like it's basically Siege of Mandalore and Revenge of the Sith. Just how it ties in, just both like parallel. And
Yeah.
then you have like when Anakin has his flashbacks, they also show flashbacks of him losing Ahsoka in season 5. That I mean that shit, man.
Justifying episode 3.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that would be cool. And speaking of fan fictions, I also want to release part 2 that I'm working on, chapter 2. Um, I don't know how you do this screen share thing. Hold on, let me just. Nope, that's not how you do it. Okay, yeah, share screen. There we go. Okay, yeah. This is my
My face is so pixeled, man. My webcam is so
okay,
bad.
my webcam is worse. Okay, this is the shared screen. Okay, guys, so this is season 1 and 2 right now, as you can see. What I'm working on right now is chapter 2, Forge of Destiny, and I have a lot of things to work on. And if I scroll down, I have season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I'm working on 8 right now.
I
And the
don't think
last,
I don't think shared screen is on, man.
hold on, hold on. Let me see.
I don't think it's on.
Wait, because I can actually see what's going on. Was canceled. Why? Oh, come on. Share screen. Don't share these tips again. Share screen. Okay. Can you guys see right now? Can you see this?
No,
Is it
I don't see it, man. Oh no, I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay? Perfect. So let me show you. Right now, this is phase 1, season 1, 18 chapters, and I'm working on chapter 2 right now. Okay, so basically, this is I have a whole lot of things going on. Season 2 is where a lot of battles take place in. Season 3 is more of a, like sit back and philosophize a few things. Season 4 is where a lot of defeats take place for my characters. Season 5 is also a lot of betrayals, a lot of twist. Season 6 is where I lose some very key characters into the story. Season 7 and 8 is basically learning to deal with all of this loss, and for people that don't get what this is all about, it's how my life worked out uh, as a kid, as a teenager, and so far as an adult. And that's basically it. So I'm going to be sharing the next part. I don't know when I'm going to be done with it, but when I do, I will actually let you guys know. So I want to thank everyone who was here, and I want to thank the 13th hour tutorial. I want to thank Moira Kitty, who was also here, Kari Williams, Death by Saber, and I guess we'll do this again sometime. This should be a weekly stream where we get to talk about things that
Yeah.
happens within the week. I really enjoyed talking to you. So we're
Shout out
gonna
to Obi-Wan as well. My man.
what's that?
Shout out to my man Obi-Wan. I think he dropped in the stream as well.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. You absolutely. Yeah. Here he had one comment. That's why. Uh, oh, I really didn't know. I actually now I understood how you actually show the comments. You actually have to click on them. I'm sorry. Next time we're gonna do this properly. I really appreciate the
It was
guys
just, it
and
was
the
just
gal.
the first stream, so this is like our tryout.
Yeah, and trust me, it's gonna get much better. I'm not gonna be winging next time for my friends because it takes a lot out of me. Trust me. I'm like, yeah, he likes you, she likes you, and they're like, we should find your girl. I'm like, do stuff first. Don't worry about me. Okay, just get me a drink and get me out of here. You know. So, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate the time that you guys took. I will see you guys in the next live stream with RevanX. So that's it. We're going offline now. We'll see you guys next time.
All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Guitar out.